So we're going to continue our work with transformations. So far we've done translations, which are slides. We've done reflections, which are flips. And today we're going to look at rotations. And a rotation is when we turn. So turning a figure about a fixed point. And for all of our examples, when we rotate, we're going to rotate about the origin, which remember is this center point here on our coordinate plane where the x and the y-axis intersect. And we're going to go in a counterclockwise direction. So if we were looking at quadrant 1, that's the same way that our quadrants fall. So 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. So that's our counterclockwise. So that's the direction we're going to move in. And the other thing to remember is that each one of our quadrants in this quadrant our coordinate plane measures 90 degrees. So let's take a look at this letter T down here at the bottom. So if we were going to rotate this letter T, if we were going to go 90 degrees, that means that this T is going to end up over on this left side because we're going to go counterclockwise. So this would be a 90-degree rotation. If we started back at that original one and we went 180 degrees, 90 would be where we were with the blue one, and then 180 would turn us completely upside down. So this would be a 180-degree rotation. Then if we were going 270 degrees, we have 90 on the left, we have 180 upside down, so one more quadrant, our T would look like it's on the right side, so that's 270-degree turn. And then if we were going 360 degrees, that would take us back exactly where we started. Okay, let's try example 1. So it says rotate triangle ABC 90 degrees counterclockwise. Label the triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So if you look right now, our triangle is in quadrant 1. So that's this quadrant right here. This is quadrant 1. And we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. So remember, each one of the quadrants is 90 degrees. So that means that this triangle is going to end up in quadrant 2 since we're going 90 degrees. So when we look at rotating, the easiest thing to do is to look at our formulas to make sure that we have our points exactly right. So when we rotate 90 degrees, our rule is going to be that we start with xy and we're going to end up at negative yx. So let's label our original points first. So point A, we're just going to count here. So we're at 1 and up 4. And then point B, if we count, we're going to go right 5 and up 2. And point C is right 2 and staying right at 0. So let's look at our A prime, B prime, and C prime. So we're going to use the rule that we have written at the top. And our rule is negative y comma x. So since the y is listed first, that means that we're going to change the order of our order pairs. So we had 1, 4 for A. Y is listed first in our rule, so that means, since our y is listed first, that means our y is going to come first, 4, and then put our x. But notice we have this negative in front of the y, which means we're going to change the sign. So since that was a positive 4, we're going to make it a negative 4. Okay, B was 5, 2. Our rule is negative yx, so that means we're going to change our order. So we're going to put the 2 first, and then the 5. The negative in front of the y once again means to change the sign. Same thing with C. Our order pair was 2, 0. So it has negative y, so that means put the y first, then the x. Negative in front of the y, so change the sign, but 0 just stays the same. So now let's just graph. So A prime is negative 4, so left 4 and up 1. There's our A prime. B prime's negative 2, so left 2 and up 5. 1, 2, 3. So there's our B prime. C prime is at 0 and then up 2. And then we'll connect. And there's our triangle in the second quadrant, just like we said it would be. And notice all your points turned. Okay, let's take a look at the next example. So the next example says that we're going to rotate triangle ABC 180 degrees counterclockwise. So let's think about where that's going to put us. So right now we're in quadrant 1. If we're going 180 degrees, remember each quadrant's 90 degrees. So we're at 1. So if we went to this one, this would put us at 90 degrees. This is quadrant 2. And then down one more to quadrant 3. So this is going to give us 180. So we should end up in quadrant 3. So let's start with our original points. So point A, point B, and point C. So point A, this is the same as the first example we had. So we went right 1 and up 4. Point B, we're going right 5 and up 2. And then point C, we're at 2, 0. So let's look at this rule here. So our rule for 180 degrees is going to be, we're going to start with xy, and we're going to end up with negative x, negative y. So remember, all that negative means in front of the x and in the y in this case is that we're going to change the signs. So if we're looking at A prime, we have negative x, so that means change the sign of our x. So we did have 1, so now we're going to have negative 1. This negative y means that we're going to look at the y and change the sign. We had positive 4, now we have a negative 4. So for B prime, we have negative x, negative y, so that means change the signs on both of them. So we had positive 5, this time we have negative 5. We had positive 2, this time we have negative 2. Okay, and then C prime, same thing. Our formula once again is negative x, negative y. So change the sign of the x. We had positive 2, now we have negative 2. And then 0 you can't change the sign of. So let's plot our points. So negative 1, negative 4, so left 1 and down 4. There's our A prime. Negative 5, so left 5, down 2. There's our B prime. And then C is at negative 2, 0. We'll connect it. Notice we're in the third quadrant and everything is rotated and turned. Okay, so the next example says, draw the final image created by rotating triangle RST 270 degrees. So let's look at where we are right now. Right now we're in the second quadrant. So if we went 270, it would be 90, 180. So we should end up in the first quadrant if we go 270 degrees. So let's start with our original points. So point R, point S, and point T. So let's count here. So point R, we're going left 4 and up 4. Point S, we're going left 2 and up 3. And point T, we're going left 3, so negative 3, and up 1. So before we name our points, let's look at our rule. So our rule is XY, and this is going to become Y negative X. So that means we're going to change the order. The Y is going to come first. Remember, the negative means we're going to change the sign. So we're going to have R prime, S prime, and T prime. So in our formula, Y is first. So that means we're going to change the order. So we had 4, negative 4. The negative X means we're going to change the sign. So this negative 4 is now a positive 4. Okay, S prime. So we had negative 2, 3. The Y means you're going to put the Y coordinate first. So 3, negative 2. The negative X means to change the sign. So this was negative 2. Now it's a positive 2. T prime. y coordinate comes first, so we'll put the 1 first, then the -3, but this negative x means to change the sign, which means this becomes a +3. So we'll plot our points. So r prime, so right 4 and up 4. So there's our r prime. S prime is right 3 and up 2. And T prime would be right 1 and up 3. Notice we're in the first quadrant and everything has rotated. Okay, so our final rotation says draw the image created by rotating triangle RST 360 degrees counterclockwise. Now, this is the easiest of all of them, because if you think about what you're doing, right now we're in this quadrant. If we're going 360 degrees, this would be 90 degrees. Then one more over would be 180. Then one more would be 270. So 360 is just going to take us back exactly where we are. So our rule is just going to be xy becomes xy, which means nothing changes. So the r is the same thing as your r prime. S is the same thing as s prime. T is the same thing as t prime. These points do not change, therefore the triangle doesn't change. So we're just going to say this is the same triangle. Okay, so to summarize, we're just going to fill in this table. So above each one of these, I'm going to start by writing our rules. So our 90-degree rotation is going to be -y, comma x. Our 180-degree rotation is -x, -y. For 270, our formula is y, -x, and our 360 is xy. So we're just going to fill in our points. So if we start with 1, 4, our rotation, our 90-degree rotation is -yx. So you change the order, that becomes 4, 1. Notice this is a negative, so you change the sign. So if we do that for B, it becomes 2, 5, the 2 becomes a negative. For C, we'd have 0, 2, well, we can't change the sign of 0. Okay, so for 180, we have -x, -y. That means change the sign of both. So A becomes -1, -4. B becomes -5, -2. C would become -2 and 0. Okay, so for 270, we have y -x, which means you change the order. So 4, 1. The x is the negative, so you change the sign. So -1. So B, we had 5, 2. So change your order. So 2, 5. The -x means change the sign. So -5. And then C, we have 2, 0. So change your order. 0, 2. The negative with the x means to change the sign. So negative. Okay, and then 360, the easiest of them all, that's going to stay exactly the same. That's a full rotation. So A was 1, 4. With the 360, it's still 1, 4. 5, 2 stays 5, 2. 2, 0 stays 2, 0. Okay, so the last slide here is just going to summarize everything. So notice your formulas are on it. So 90 degrees is -yx. 180 degrees is -x, -y. 270 is y -x. And 360 is xy. Remember that negative sign just means that you're taking the opposite. You're just going to change your sign. And when you rotate, remember we're going to rotate counterclockwise.